is the City of Southfield regular meeting of the Planning Commission, June 25th, 2025. We all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a roll call, please.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Bernuti,
Present.
Commissioner Griffiths,
Here.
Commissioner Martin,
Here.
Commissioner Willis,
Here.
Commissioner Dr. Stevens-Gunn.
Here.
Commissioners Goodwin, Dye, and Gruber are excused, but we do have a quorum.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
To the chair, motion to approve the agenda is provided.
Support.
Got a favorable motion on the agenda by Commissioner Martin, supported by Commissioner Willis. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, the agenda proceeds. Announcements and communications tonight?
None at this time.
All right. First item is site plan review, PSP 25-0005 on Bush Street.
All right, so tonight we have a site plan review by Harpo Chain Construction at 23458 through 23488 Bush Street. Current zoning is attached single family. They're looking to construct a 6-unit townhome development on the vacant land. You may well remember this was before you earlier this year for a rezoning, and that rezoning was approved. Now they're just coming back for their site plan. Currently, as I said, the current zoning is R2 attached single family with R1 residential surrounding it. Future zoning is a moderate density single family. This is a site aerial. You'll notice the buildings fronting Telegraph, the industrial uses, to the west of it. Here is the site plan that they have submitted. You see the row of parking there on the west side, and then the 6-unit townhomes with parking garages as well. First floor plan, you see the kitchen, laundry room, the master bedroom, and then living room. Second floor, you have 2 other bedrooms and a loft with a bathroom. Elevations, as you can see, typical with the garage, the one entrance. I believe these windows are just for showing, basically. Those aren't shared windows between the 2 units. A little closer up of the elevation. Then I'll ask the petitioner to come up.
Please state your name and address for the record and tell us anything you'd like to add about the project.
Good evening. My name is Kenneth Allen. My address is 6195 Oak Trail. West Bloomfield, Michigan. I want to say Southfield. West Bloomfield, Michigan, 48322. I also have my architect here today. I'm going to have him. He's up.
Anything else you'd like to?
No, we've been here before, and we talked to this honorable body about this project, and then we're just coming for today. Hopefully, we get approval.
To the commission, Dr. Stevens-Gunn, any comments or questions?
No, I'm all set with it.
Mr. Martin?
I have several questions. First question is, in looking at the property there, the property has a lot of woods along the back, and it is it's in the lot, within the lots that you have, are you clearing that land so that people were just leaving it so that you had the home and whatever's currently clear?
No, we're not going to clear all of the lot there. We're going to still leave space for decking that's going to be across along the back, and some greenery, some greenery for grass. But no, because there's another house that's, ways away in the back. We want to keep that like buffer in between their yard and the back of the yard.
I realize the house behind that. Will there be markings for the lot line so people behind it won't be infringing upon the property?
Say that one more time. I'm sorry.
Will there be markings for the lot lines at the rear of the property so that the houses behind it, the houses to the east, won't be infringing?
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
Okay. I also have a question. You have 16-foot garage doors on the plans? And
Excuse me for a second. Mr. Martin, is your mic on? And if you could make sure you turn your, and pull your mics a little closer.
Yeah.
I just got a note from cable.
I had turned
Yeah, I
that
was
on.
saying, could you speak up a little bit too?
Yes, sir.
Stay close to the mic, thank you.
Okay.
And if I could just, before you go on to your next item, one of our conditions of approval, should you grant them approval, is they still owe us a tree survey with trees to be removed or saved. So that's still yet to be done, and that would be a recommended condition of approval, that we would have final approval on that. So your point is well taken, and we anticipate that they still owe us some documents on the landscaping and tree removal.
Right. Going back to the garage doors, most garage doors for two-car garages are 20 foot, and you have 16-foot garage doors. That seems kind of tight. Is that, you set in stone that you're having 16-foot garage doors?
It's nothing is always set in stone as far as the doors, but I mean 16 is what we've been using in a lot of our properties. And with a lot of these small EV cars, they're small. People are driving a little bit more smaller cars. And first they were driving trucks, and you can get the trucks in the driveway into the garage. So it could be 16. We may change it up and do 20. It all depends on.
Well, and here again, as you pointed out, people with smaller cars and EVs are generally smaller.
Right.
But the EV population isn't great right now. And
Right, that's true.
It just seems a little tighter. That's just something to consider, 20-foot doors.
I think my architect can speak more to it.
How you doing? Mike Bishop, 32821 Wareham Court, Warren, 48092. 16 foot is industry standard for a garage door. So there are other issues with the LVL supports above the garage too that has to be met for support. So 20-foot garage door is pretty big for a residential unit. So there are 18 footers, but 16 is you'll look at any typical residential home is typically 16 foot.
And you mentioned that, and that's one of the reasons I brought it up, because I went up and down my street, all the garage doors are 20 foot. So,
Wow.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
different situation, but I mean,
Yeah, I do understand. It's not, that's something to consider, basically.
yeah.
And everyone doesn't have a small car, so, you wonder about having problems with parking. If people have one car in the garage and another vehicle, are they gonna be hitting the garage door, are they gonna hit their vehicle? That's just, the width of it is just something I thought of. Also, because the units are side by side, I assume that there's soundproofing between the units, so, and that's.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay.
There's also fire code and fire requirements also in between the units.
With the two-car garage and the parking spaces across the front, the west side of the building, do you have any concerns about people, the first two houses and the last two houses have the driveways in front of them? Do you have foresee any problems with people coming in for the center units because of people parking in front of their garage rather than in the garage?
There is some curbing shown in between the units, or in between the garage doors as well. So, and that type of stuff can be detailed, you know, as this moves further along. But those types of things can be addressed. I think on the, if you look on the site plan view, there may be some landscaping and some curbing in between the units. Yeah.
Let me go back another direction with this then. Because of the possibility of people parking in front of the garage, do you have, and here, I believe you would mention this would be, have a homeowners association associated with it, that they would have requirements so that people aren't blocking them, so people can't get into the middle houses with the driveways?
Well, each unit has their own private drive.
Right, no, the diagram has parking across the front. There's only two driveways, one on each end. So I'm saying you have units 1 and 2 on the left, on the north side, 5 and 6 on the right, on the south side. What about 3 and 4 in the middle, trying to come in the driveway and turning in? That's,
I'm not following.
In front of the garage, I don't know if he can get, It's
Yeah,
parking,
it's
private
24
drive.
feet,
There's islands
which
in
is
between each.
typical standard in parking lots. There's plenty of room to maneuver still.
Yeah, all the guest parking's against the street, and there's a drive that's a horseshoe that loops all the way through, and everyone can turn into there. And it looks like, do you know the distance
I understand.
between the curb and the garage door? Maybe that's what he's, it doesn't look like you can park a full car in front of the garage door without blocking the
Part of the
north-south
driveway.
drive, which is
Oh, I know
left
what I'm
to right
saying.
center.
You're talking about the
Oh,
easement.
the
maybe,
depth of the drive?
Right, that's just a picture though, but you can't really see it.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand what you're saying, and thank you for the clarification, Mr. Griffin.
Well, and that could also be adjusted. We did have some comments that came back from the initial review to push everything forward. I mean, we have plenty of room in the rear setback. So if, in order to meet that and, have a full distance there for the cars to sit there, it would just be a matter of pushing the entire unit back, 5 feet around in there or something like that. So it's definitely, there's definitely some adjustments that can be made. This is just kind of a conceptual layout just to get the approval. There's plenty of engineering that still needs to be done across the board, but, this just kind of gives the conceptual layout to look over.
If I could, we just need a minimum of 18 feet from the garage door to the end of that private drive aisle.
Right,
And then
correct.
you got 24 feet, and then you should have another 18 feet for visitor parking. So as long as you can comply with that, it's just not labeled. And it does look, to scale, looks like it might be a little bit short.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
I agree.
When you submit your final plans, if this gets approved, we'll need to see that labeled.
No problem.
And you want to maintain, again, the tree survey will show what trees are going to be impacted. If you have decks, is that where the D is?
Yeah.
Okay, so they're going to be inside your footprint, they're
Yes.
not extend further. So we'll just double check all that when we get the final layout.
Yeah, and the 30 feet was the required rear yard, and I think we're,
Right, you got
Set-
plenty
yeah,
of
plenty of
room,
room.
but it just might
Yeah.
impact where certain trees.
correct.
The other thing is, you have striping for the parking spaces up front. That's not gonna last forever, and you've got, people are buying houses to stay there. And just striping, I mean, I can understand striping to identify the parking spaces, but is there anything else you can do so that it's more permanent? What I'm looking at is it possible to do ripple concrete between the spaces?
Well, the
Spaces
HOA will handle that with maintenance, typical maintenance, just, you know, to where if that needs to be restriped or handled year to year.
That would be up to the individual homeowner. Okay.
Well, not necessarily individual homeowner, but the homeowners association. That way, same thing with landscaping and, you know, just overall curb appeal out front. You know, there'll be some things that just get handled by that, you know, by that association.
Last but not least, I went through the city ordinances myself, and I can't believe that you have to have a bike rack for individual homes, but hey, that's what it says, and you have it, so it's just a thought. I just, you know, I like the plan, I like the ideas, and I asked the questions for the things I had questions for. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, if I could, they only required one bike rack for the entire complex. It
Yeah,
wouldn't
but-
be per each home.
Yeah, but the bike rack is on one end, and there's 5 other houses down.
Yeah, but it's not a great distance.
Well, hey,
And they get credit for one parking space by
Yeah,
having the bike
yeah,
rack. So it's only because it's a multifamily
yeah.
that they're required to do that.
I mean, I understand it, and it's not an issue. It's just, when you look at residential homes, when you see someone building a new home, you don't see them having to put in a bike rack.
Because that's an individual.
Because it's an individual home.
Right, this is
And that's why I
this
say,
is,
I went through it, it just seems, you know, I understand it, and I don't have a problem with it. It just seemed a little odd, that's all, for 6 homes and one bike rack on one end. It's fine.
Okay.
I'm done, thank you. Sorry.
Thank you.
We've talked a couple of times. I'm
Yes.
very comfortable. I wish you luck. But again, I believe you said you can get started in the spring and complete the project when?
We're hoping. It's still got a couple of hurdles that we have to go through. Yes. Yes.
Okay, no more questions.
No, I'd like to thank you for engaging in a project in Southfield. And I think most of the questions that I was thinking of were already answered, so good.
Thank you.
I got a couple things and I'll circle back. I'll agree with you, 16 feet is the standard double door on any house. And this is like a house next to another house, next to another house. Never drawn a 20-foot door in my career, but yeah, it's still time. But this is a good average size garage, 22-foot wide, 22-foot deep. More urban cities, Birmingham, Royal Oak, we're doing a 20-foot garage or a 19-foot garage. You can't fit 2 cars in it, but on paper it's a 2-car garage. This is an actual 2-car garage that you can fit. You can't fit 2 F-150s in it, but you can fit, you know, vehicles I have. My garage is this size, I have 2 cars in there with a teenage driver, and it's still standing, so far so good. The garage door too, though, I think it's a big block of you know, it can be a statement or it can be just nothing. I'd be in favor of a little more interesting garage door, something with some window, just some small windows up high so you can't see everybody's stuff. I know
Yeah.
that's a concern with your neighbors being so close, but, you know, there's a lot of nice doors that are steel but look like wood embossed, or, you know, have some little bit more interest because it's such a big part of the facade. And also the one in the center where there's 2 giant garage doors next to each other and a giant gable end. If you could just think about some kind of relief, even if it's an inch in the brick or something to offset that, to give it a little shadow line, or
Okay.
make sure that secondary gable has a little separation from the siding. I see you
Yeah, I
got
know
2
what you're
different
talking
accent sidings, but something that's like a shadow line of an inch or 2 makes all the difference in the world
Yeah.
between a block of
Just not a big wall.
Right. Not just a big
flooring.
wall.
So, I mean, that's a nice opportunity there. I think this floor plan makes a lot of sense to create this kind of courtyards at the back, which further away from the noise of Telegraph and looking out onto the trees that are back there. I think that's a nice, and you've got I believe it has a bedroom sticking out Yeah, so that's gonna kind of create some natural privacy between the units. I think that's a nice touch. But no, this is an efficient but nice, you know, good size family. It can be a family home, could be a single person. It's, you know, it kind of serves a variety of people at a good price point, I assume. So I think it's a nice project. I do agree with it'd be nice to be able to park a car in front of the garage door if the garage door is closed without blocking the driveway that everybody else needs to use. Because the people with the drive straight in have an easy time and the other people have to swing around. Any condo I've ever been around, if you park in the wrong spot, somebody's either knocking on the door or calling you within about 5 minutes, from
Right.
my experience.
That's
So
true.
I think that'll self-govern once people get up to speed.
Okay.
That's, I think, all my comments. It looks like a nice project. I think it's a good spot for it. Commissioner Martin, you had something else?
I just want to say, I asked my questions, I still think it's a nice project.
Okay.
So,
Oh, no.
I.
Thank you.
Thank
We take it all in stride, everything.
And I would have gave you the design suggestions earlier. I think I missed
Yeah.
the first meeting, but same thoughts back then as I had now.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
No.
Planner Crowe?
I agree with the chair. If you could do something with the garage doors, windows or something, the shadow line is definitely going to help. You know, I just do the math. If I'm reading that right, it says 63 feet.
Yeah.
So I don't know the width of your landscape area, but if you took away the 24 feet drive lane and 18 feet, that leaves 21 feet. If that's 3 feet wide, that gives you 18 feet for the driveway in front of the garage. It just, I don't think it's scaled properly. So we'd like to get that dimensioned.
No problem.
You have what's on the north end, it looks like you have that sidewalk perpendicular that we require to get entrance into the residential units. Since everyone will be, because it's a dead-end street, because everyone will be walking in from 9 Mile, could you flip the sidewalk on the south side of the driveway as opposed to on the northern end? So you're required to have a sidewalk along the Bush Street.
Okay.
And it looks like you've got a perpendicular sidewalk at the north driveway entrance that connects into the residential units. Anybody that's going to be walking to the bus stop or to church or to the grocery store or biking is going to be coming from 9 Mile, which is the south. They're not going to go all the way to the north end to enter that sidewalk. So just put that sidewalk on the south end.
Oh, I see.
You know,
You're
flip-
saying like
flip-
on the boulevard side?
You've got it on the north end,
Right.
which is the furthest distance.
Where the bike rack is at?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Can you
just mirror
flip-
it to the other
Can
side.
you flip the bike rack and the sidewalk and put it on the
Yeah,
south end and just swap those?
sure. That's
It
no
just
problem.
makes more sense. Anybody walking or biking is gonna come in from the south, which would be the right of the screen. Okay?
Understood.
It shouldn't change, it really shouldn't change the dynamics if you're swapping them. And then, again, I think just final dimensions, final landscaping plan, and identifying where the trees to be removed and to be saved. I think having that big woodlot behind it is an amenity for your residents. But I don't see how you fit this whole thing on there without impacting some of the trees. Even with some grading, you're going to impact some of the trees. So we'll need a tree removal, tree replacement plan. And that's part of our recommendation, that you make it subject to my final review. But overall, this is a nice project. We're excited because we're trying to do more of the missing middle housing. And this is going to be looked at closely. And we want you to be successful just so we can have a win on the books for the next one. With that, my final comment is, this isn't a public hearing, but we did receive 2 comments from residents that asked to be read into the record. I think substantially, every one of you have gotten a copy of that. The essence is they're just against the use, and the use has already been approved by council. But through the chair, if you if you would permit, because they did request us to bring it up, I'm going to have Mr. Bolin read
Yeah,
it into the
this
record.
Rezoning was approved
It
years
was already
ago or
approved.
something, so that wasn't even up for discussion.
No, it was really just about the site plan issues.
Okay.
But since they did ask us to bring it up, instead of reading in the record under public comment, which wouldn't make sense because you've already acted on it,
Okay.
I'd like to ask that we have the time to do that.
Yeah, yeah. Planner Bullen, you're going to read those in, please?
Yes, sir. This is from Peg Pulaski. To whom it may concern, at this time I am not able to attend tonight's meeting. I do want to voice my opinion. Bush Street is one of Southfield's oldest neighborhoods. I do not see how putting this conglomeration into the neighborhood is going to be an improvement. Many of us have voiced our opinion, and it has fallen on deaf ears. I hear it will increase the tax base. So what happens when property taxes are deemed unconstitutional? Next question, how is a turnaround going to be put in on this dead-end street, and where will you find the property to do so? How is something this large even going to fit in? This all falls on deaf ears, but if it was going next door to you, I am sure you would also protest. Southfield is so concerned about the tax base, I think the time is coming for property owners to demand accountability and to do a complete doge on city finances. This is from Mike Wilson. He says, hello, my name is Mike Wilson. I live on Bush Street next to where this project is to take place. As I have written before, I am firmly against this as it does not belong in a neighborhood zoned for single-family homes. There are homes here that were built in the 1930s, and it has been zoned single-family for the better part of 90 years. He has 3 lots and should build 3 single-family homes to keep the neighborhood intact as it was meant to be. Also, I own 3 lots, and I have a 1,000 square foot home along with 500 square foot garage. When I applied to build my barn on the 3rd lot, I was restricted to 750 square feet, bringing me to a total of 2,250 square feet. I don't see for the life of me how 6 units are going to fit on 3 lots, going by the rules I was forced to follow. None of this is right. Nobody on the street agrees with this, as should have already been shown when they came door to door, unless that information was never passed on. I would be there in person, but recently had knee surgery and am not mobile at this point. Please keep our neighborhood in the state it was intended to be. Nobody wants this. There was a lot of elderly people that cannot make it to these meetings because of health concerns, but I have talked with everyone on the street and it is an overwhelming no. Please honor the residents' wishes in this decision. I've lived here 42 years and don't want a conglomeration of that size next to my home. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Again, to the commission, this was rezoned to RT, attached single family, by the council previously. So the zoning and the use is permitted. They meet all the setback requirements, so no waivers are needed.
Do we have a recommendation from the planning department and considering Planner Crode's additional conditions?
Yes, sir. Planning Department recommends that PSP 25-0005, the site plan review request for Harpo Chain Construction for a 6-unit attached townhome development at 23458 through 23488 Bush Street, be approved for the following reasons and with the following conditions. Based on the appearance, compliance with zoning requirements, emergency vehicle access, site design characteristics, vehicle circulation and access. This resolution is based on the documents, facts, stipulations, representations submitted with the application and placed on the record during this hearing. The following conditions are required. The site and building shall be developed in accordance with the revised site plan set prepared by MB Drafting and Design per the revision submitted May 30th, 2025. Revised tree removal and replacement plan, as well as a landscaping, grading, and stormwater management plan to be approved by the city planner and the city engineer. The petitioner is to implement the recommendations made by the Southfield Police Department's Crime Prevention Bureau. and then continuous compliance with all applicable codes, ordinance, laws, and statutes.
And if I could, through the chair, item E, you're required to do a lot combination for your 3 lots. Otherwise, you won't meet the setback requirements, so.
Correct.
Make that, and then we talked about flopping the location of the sidewalk bike racks, and then recommendation that windows be added to the garage doors and shadow lines be added to the front facade. I think that covers everything.
Could we have one additional item maybe noted for 7B? Also, we discussed the retention pond and the engineering that was potentially required for that the retention pond was not going to be required.
Well, as stated, it says subject to approval of the city planner and city engineer. So
Okay.
I know there's been some conversations
Correct.
with her, but she has the final say on.
Okay, that's fine.
On water retention, stormwater. So regardless of what we say.
No problem.
If she had indicated that she would review this under different standards, that's up to her.
Understood.
Okay. Looking for a motion from the planning commission on the side.
Through the chair, I recommend that the planning commission accept the recommendation for PSP 25-0005.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion for approval of the site plan PSP 25-0005 with the conditions noted by Dr. Stevens-Gunn, supported by Commissioner Martin. All in favor of approval of the site plan?
Aye.
Any opposed? No.
Thank you.
Project's approved with the conditions. Good luck.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So if you could just follow up with our office on
Yes,
those
we will.
final details.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item's at 27301 West 11 Mile. This is overlay development district rezoning.
Yes, sir. So as you noted, this is a rezoning for an ODD by Friedman Real Estate at 27301 West 11 Mile. Current zoning is B2 planned business, and they are proposing to do an ODD overlay development district with the underlying B2 zoning remaining. This is to rezone the property in order to permit a wider range of tenant uses that would be allowed under the ODD use list. Current zoning, as stated, the site is zone B2 with residential, attached residential surrounding it, and then regional center to the north. Future land use is local mixed use for the site. Here's a site aerial. As you can see, it was a multi-tenant building complex with plenty of parking. Current conditions, facing east from Inkster, and then facing south from 11 Mile. And then this is the previously approved landscape from 2020. This was done administratively. Proposed tenant spaces and uses. They plan on having an indoor recreation company, as well as some retail and some tech, research and development, as well as some office for a tech company. And then up here in the corner, you can see a little data center being proposed. So permitted uses in the planned business district, medical office and clinics, banks, libraries, post offices, private clubs and lodges, nursery schools and daycare centers, photo studios, interior design studios, personal services such as a barbershop, nail salon, retail, general retail is also allowed, and then dining room and carry-out restaurants are permitted by right. And then special uses within the B2 include theaters, assembly halls, religious institutions, or similar. Open-air retail, such as like a greenhouse for plant sales, arcades, bowling alleys, hotels and motels, drive-through restaurants, restaurants with a bar and lounge, 24-hour restaurants, and then small box retail would be a special use in the B2. In addition to that, with the ODD being added, all of these uses become permitted as well. These include educational facilities, general businesses, convention centers and banquet facilities, medical research, microbrews, mixed-use residential, health, wellness, and fitness centers, hospitals, general office, recreational uses and facilities, residential uses including multifamily, research facilities, pharmacies, professional businesses and offices, public safety, self-storage facilities, as an accessory use though, technical research and development centers, and then universities and colleges and civic organizations as well. And I'll invite the petitioner to come up and speak on the project.
Could you give us your name and address for the record, and anything else you'd like to add?
Sure. John Paul Wolf, Friedman Real Estate Group, 34975 West 12 Mile, Farmington Hills. Nothing more to add. I think just general context is that this, sort of historically was zoned for retail use, was never really ever utilized in that nature. So that really this is just sort of correcting what probably should have been. This has always been more of an office R&D type establishment, and so I think this is just correcting what should have been here.
Okay. This is a public hearing. I'm going to ask you to take a step or two back.
Sure.
Open up the public hearing at this time. Take a breath. Seeing no members of the public present, close the public hearing. Could you please come back to the podium? Any questions? Dr. Stevens got?
Hi, this question is for Planner Crowe. On the list that was just read, they had nursing home and assisted living. So if if something happens and the businesses that they're thinking about putting in now decide that they don't want to come and they're going to put a nursing home in there, so they wouldn't have to come back to us, but they still would have to satisfy state regulations, correct?
Yes, anything that's licensed by the state, they would have to comply with. They would either have to come back for an administrative or site plan review if it created a change in the plan that gets adopted through this process. So there, for example, let's just say it is a senior congregate assisted living and they have to add a canopy for EMS or drop-off pickup. That's something we can probably do administratively.
Okay.
There's certain rules for minor and major modifications. If it's a major modification, then there's guidelines on how that happens. So, but again, as long as they stay within the footprint, as long as they comply with whatever dimensional regulations that we come up with as part of this ODD, then they can move forward.
Thank you.
Commissioner Martin?
I just have a question about the plan. Could you go to page 20, that one right there? Along the back of the building, they show greenery. Is there greenery back there? I drove by there today. I don't remember seeing greenery along the back.
I mean, that is an older photo.
Oh, okay.
So
Can you go to the concept layout where the colored buildings there? Yeah. So again, a couple years ago, they did an administrative site plan approval for landscaping. So they got to comply with that. And then any additional landscaping that might be triggered by a reuse, we would review that.
So let me understand that you're saying that the landscape that's there was planned before.
Yeah. So like for example, along Inkster Road, when they had a change of use, I think when you had the Sun
Research.
Yeah. Went in there, we did an administrative review on landscaping. We had them upgrade the landscaping to the standards of that day. So that's why I think Mr. Boleyn read the previous landscape plan is in compliance. Now, if something dies or needs to be replaced, then that would be under their maintenance. if they have to change something for new entrance or new tenant, and they have bump outs or building or parking, then we would have them upgrade the landscaping at the time.
Okay, my point is that along Inkster is no problem. The back of the building, the east side of that, I'm questioning, there's no landscape there, is there? Along the back of the building? Yeah,
I don't
From what I
know
remember, when I
if
drove by today, it was all parking spaces, no greenery.
So again, what's required is landscaping, screening, parking spaces adjacent to rights-of-way. There is no specific requirements for landscaping, let's call it on the east end of this building. But this is conceptually showing that there's going to be some trees planted. But there's no requirement to have foundation plantings.
And here, my thing,
And I can't tell you, because it's been a while, I can't tell you if there's
Yeah, no.
any existing landscaping or not, but that's something
I haven't
we
looked.
would work out
Sure.
if
yeah,
needed.
that was my point, that
Yeah.
we see it on the diagram, but there's nothing there.
Well, this will be
based on-
part and parcel to the approval.
Yeah.
So if it's showing, this is what we call a master development plan.
Yeah.
It gets attached to the ODD requirement. If they have any specific site plan, then they'd have to give us site plan approval with the landscape schedule, specific plant materials, location, and so forth. But since they're just looking at this point to rezone and have the uses altered so they can move into the existing space, that necessarily wouldn't trigger any additional landscape requirements.
Okay, I see, I'm going ahead of what we're doing. Sorry, thank you.
Mr. Willis?
Thank you. I'll keep it simple. I recognize this is a rezone, but I love the elevations that you shared, and that's all I have to ask.
I agree with that. You've got a lot of possibilities with this, and I approve as well.
I just need a clarification. The color diagram that's showing indoor recreation, that's a concept of like someone there?
We had an interested party. I don't know if that'll make it all the way, through to a signed deal, but yeah, we had an indoor recreation user that was looking at roughly 40,000 square feet, and then we have a 15,000 square foot office R&D. That's about 50/50, or actually, yeah, about 50/50, I think, office and tech. And so those were the two uses that we were looking at doing here that sort of prompted us to take a look at the zoning.
So with approving the ODD, that box could shift over to another part of the building and it could be a different user, and we're opening up opportunity.
Correct, yeah, but we can't even proceed with those LOIs until we know that they can do the
Yeah,
use there,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, so again, this is a conceptual master development plan.
Yeah,
And again, to your point, it could switch around within the use list and
Yes.
within the other components, but we needed some guide of
Okay.
how they
Yeah,
plan to
some-
use this. And to their point, they can't move forward with a potential user without getting the proper zoning because it is currently zoned B3, and it doesn't.
B2.
B2 doesn't allow some of these things.
Okay.
Yeah.
And even though, as you pointed out, it's been zoned retail for all these years, and it always looked like an office industrial research
Yeah.
place, and there's been some loose interpretations in the past about who could go in there. This cleans everything up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm always in favor of mixed use and just like moving to the market, just like allowing uses to come in, knowing that
Yeah,
somebody else gets to review it.
It was one of those sites that, was zoned, I think the way it was laid out, it was intended to be retail, but it's been back office for a bank historically. It was called Sun Research Park most recently, but you can't even really do the research portion of it in there. So, yeah, it's.
And then I'll just add, we routinely get inquiries from title companies that are doing searches for loans for sales and stuff. And the first thing he asks is the proposed use in compliance with your zoning ordinance? And if there was an office tech R&D that was looking for it, we'd have to say, no, it's not in compliance, and that could kill the deal.
Yep, yeah.
I'm oversimplifying it, but
Yeah,
I just got an
and again,
inquiry.
it's hard for the tenants to spend money on attorney's fees and planning and whatever else if they don't know that they can actually use, go into the space.
Absolutely. Thank you. Any other questions? All right, looking for a recommendation from the planning department?
Sir. Planning Department recommends favorable recommendation of PZR ODD 25-0002 to rezone the parcel at 27301 West 11 Mile to ODD Overlay Development District, reaffirming the previously approved site plan for the site, PASP 20-0054, as the master development plan, and creation of an ODD agreement to permit the reuse of the existing site and buildings for the wider range of uses permitted in the ODD ordinance and the smart zone sub-area, in addition to those permitted per the existing and underlying B2 zoning of the site. For the following reasons and following conditions, the Southfield Comprehensive Master Plan designates this parcel for local mixed use, and as part of the smart zone sub-area designation, the proposed rezoning is consistent with the provisions of the Overlay Development District regulations generally, and for the smart zone sub-area in particular. The proposed ODD would allow the petitioner to occupy the property with a wider range of uses that are consistent and compatible with the design of the facility and other uses in the area. The proposed rezoning will not have adverse effects upon any of the adjoining zoning districts or land uses. It is also based on the following conditions. The buildings and site improvements are to be maintained consistent with the approved site plan PASP 20-0054, and the petitioner is to work with the planning department and city attorney to finalize the overlay development district development agreement.
Thank you. That we're looking, Commissioner. Sorry. Well, looking for a motion. Do you have another question?
No.
Do you want to make a, would you like to make a motion?
Approval for PZ RODD 25-0002.
Second.
Got a, you want, we got a favorable motion by Commissioner Martin, seconded by Commissioner Bernuti. All in favor of recommending this project, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. All right. Thank you.
John Paul, I just want to make sure that we have at least the draft ODD agreement before it goes to council.
Okay.
So we're not
think you guys-
chasing after the fact, and you might already done that with Tom, but
We already
he's-
presented it to you guys.
Okay, I just want to make sure he's on vacation this week, so I didn't have a chance to check with him.
Yeah, you guys have a copy of it, so
All
it's
right,
in your
sounds
court.
good. Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, we have PTZA 25-0003, zoning text amendment.
Yep, so as we stated earlier at the previous meeting, this zoning amendment is to provide for specific regulation of taller flagpoles. This amendment is intended to fill a gap in the current ordinance and provide consistent administrative review and processing of requests related to the taller flagpoles. Time to time, the planning department receives some questions related to possibly installing taller flagpoles at businesses. The current zoning ordinance do not directly address this issue, which leads to case-by-case evaluation through the site plan and possible zoning waivers through the ZBA. Sustainable Southfield Master Plan goals and objectives related to the proposed amendment. Review ordinances, codes, regulations, and permitting processes to eliminate or modify conflicting and excessive requirements and to streamline the regulatory review process. And then streamlining the approval process and work towards having site plans for permitted uses approved administratively or by the Planning Commission. So the addition to the ordinance would directly address the height of the flagpoles, stating that if it exceeds the permitted maximum height in the zoning district, it also creates a safe fall zone, and the flagpole height shall be limited to the minimum distance from the base of the flagpole to the nearest property line. Structural engineer would need to certify each flagpole that it was specifically designed for the site. And then the building official may approve a smaller setback. Again, with the proposed changes, the height of flagpoles. This section applies if a proposed flagpole exceeds the permitted maximum height in the applicable zoning district. You create a minimum safe fall zone. The flagpole height shall be limited to the minimum distance from the base of the flagpole to the nearest property line. Again, with a structural engineer. This does require a public hearing.
I'd like to open up the public hearing at this time for PTZA 25-0003. Seeing no members of the public present, close the public hearing.
Could
Dr.
I-
Stevens?
Could I just make an extra comment?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so I think as Tom has outlined and Alex has summarized, we have 1.5 time fall zone required for cell towers and other things like that. We don't specifically cover flagpoles. There's a certain limit the flagpoles can go to. And so whenever we get a request to go above that, we have to make an interpretation, and this makes it just clear that if they got a certified engineer and sometimes they're designed to do self-collapsing, they don't need to meet that 1.5 fall time zone. And then we put it in our schedule regulations under exceptions. And so as long as they certify to the building official, then we don't have to go through a formal process for review.
Okay, thank you. Any comments, questions, Dr. Stevens? No. Commissioner Martin?
Other than it makes absolute sense. You know.
Okay, good.
It does make sense.
Fine with me, makes complete sense. Is there a recommendation on this?
The planning department recommends favorable recommendation of PTZA 25-0003 for the following reasons. The proposed text amendment will amend Title V, Zoning and Planning, Chapter 45, Zoning of the Code for the City of Southfield by amending Article 22 to update the exceptions to height standards to specifically address flagpoles. The amendment will address a lack of clear regulation related to flagpole height and setbacks, providing them with similar treatment to telecommunication towers and freestanding wind energy structures. The proposed amendment will promote orderly development and is necessary to ensure the health, safety, and welfare of the community.
Looking for a motion on PTZA 25-0003.
I'd like to make the motion to approve PTZA 25-0003.
Second.
Okay. Got a favorable motion by Commissioner Bernuti, second by Commissioner Martin. All in favor of recommendation? Aye. Opposed? None.
So if I could, I just had like a senior moment. You did do a call for the public. I know there is nobody here. I just missed that when I was making notes, so.
We did.
Okay, thank you.
Next is the minutes from May 7th and May 28th.
Yep. Minutes are in your packets. Typically, I don't print the transcribed one because that's like 100 pages for everybody. So what I have been doing is just doing the last page for Andrea to sign. With her not being here, I didn't need to do that tonight, but I'll get her next time.
Okay.
So,
The chair, motion to approve the study meeting minutes of May 7th and regular meeting minutes of May 28th.
Second it.
We've got a motion to approve the minutes by Commissioner Martin, second by Commissioner Bernuti. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, the minutes are approved. Got a public comment portion of the meeting. Open up the public comment section at this time. We did have Ken Allen and Mike Bishop sign the list, but I believe they were the petitioners for the first item. Seeing no other members of the public present, close the public comments? And council items update.
Yes, so this must be 2 meetings ago.
Yeah.
The office use in the B district was approved, and the Sustainability Action Plan consultant was awarded the contract. However, we're having some negotiation issues with that contractor right now. We're hoping to have it resolved by Monday, but we might need to go to the next qualified bidder. And this past Monday, council awarded the bid for the bus stop furnishings installation, and they awarded the bid for the mini gateway signs. So those were 2 items that just happened Monday night. So I think that covers the last 2 meetings that we had.
Okay. Miscellaneous?
Yep. Our next meeting will be July 9th for the month's study meeting. We are recommending that we cancel the July 16th, which would have been the long-range study meeting. So need a motion for that.
If I may, one of the things that tends to kind of pop up during meetings is whether or not we are going to look at our relative income. I think even during the meeting with the council, it was mentioned we're making $20 a meeting. Is that fair? Should we continue the way we're going? I would love to have a discussion on it during the study meeting of amounts why, if this amount is the appropriate amount, I'm happy with it, but I think a discussion could make sense.
Can I just make a point? One of the things that you mentioned is that they have to do investigation to find out if they're legally paying us.
But even that would be important.
Yeah.
I
But
think
I
if they're,
mean, they need to determine if we should be paid in the first place before you discuss an amount.
And I'll let Terry, add his comments, but I don't think doing that in a planning commission study meeting is the place, because you're just looking at, hey, I'm getting paid this amount, and I think it should be more. That's something for council, that, like Commissioner Martin was saying, that's something for council to study and determine.
I hear you. I've seen other councils, I think I saw the highest amount, somebody's making $100,000 a year with council. Nothing that could ever apply here, but I don't know. I think we could express our feeling to hear from, let's say, legal, to understand why it is at this amount. If it's illegal to pay us, I'm good with that too. But I just, I just want to make sure I understand and know all of the reasons why.
Well, I think
If I could, I would rather come back to you at a study session and report. We did give a previous report.
Okay.
I don't think the regular meeting is the time to get into this discussion. And I don't want anyone to say something that may not be valid at this time. So let us do our due diligence. I know Tom looked into this before, and we'll come back and report at a study meeting. And then if you want to make a recommendation to take action, it would be appropriate to do that at a subsequent regular meeting. But I don't think we didn't have this on our agenda. I don't think it's appropriate to be discussing this, and we're not prepared to discuss it tonight. Okay?
Through the chair, I make a recommendation that we cancel the long-range planning study session meeting for July 16, 2025.
Second. Got a recommendation to cancel the July 16th meeting by Dr. Stevens Gunn, supported by Commissioner Bernuti. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
Through the chair, I
Dr.
make a recommendation that we end this meeting.
I like it.
I don't disagree.
That we end the meeting.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.